Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving deep into something I think we can all relate to. Giving compliments.
Definitely something we all do, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. But are we doing it well? That's what we're exploring today. We're taking a look at an episode, actually, called The Art of Genuine Compliments. And let me tell you, it's got some pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, I was surprised by some of the stuff in there. I don't know, I guess I never really overthought how to give compliments before.
Me neither. I just figured, say
Yeah.
something nice, right?
Exactly. But it turns out there's actually a lot more to it.
For real. Like what?
Okay, well, for starters, did you know that getting a genuine compliment actually activates the same reward centers in the brain as receiving money?
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like our brains actually light up in the same way,
Wow, so it's like we're hardwired to crave compliments.
pretty much. And that's
Uh,
why they can be so powerful, when they're done right.
Okay, so then what's the secret? How do we give compliments that really hit the mark?
Well, the podcast dug into a bunch of research on this, and one of the things they talked about was a study from UCLA. They were actually measuring brain activity while people received different kinds of compliments.
Oh, wow, that's so cool. So what did they find out?
Well, it turned out that compliments that focused on someone's effort, wow, you really put a lot of work into this, those actually triggered a much stronger response than compliments about inherent talent, like saying, you're so naturally gifted, or something like that.
Interesting. I actually always thought talent-based compliments were more impactful,
Yeah, it seems kind of counterintuitive, right? But when you think about it, it makes sense.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because when you compliment someone's effort, it shows that you're really paying attention to the work they put in, not just like their natural ability.
Right, it feels way more personal.
Exactly. And that's a key part of what makes a compliment truly resonate. It's not just about saying nice things. It's about genuine appreciation, and connecting with the other person on a deeper level.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So how do we actually do that? What are the steps to giving a really awesome, genuine compliment?
Well, the podcast had this whole breakdown of the three main pillars of a killer compliment. They called it specificity, sincerity, and personalization.
Oh, I like that.
Catchy.
Right. So to start with specificity, I feel like that's the one I struggle with the most. How do you get beyond just, great job or you're amazing?
Totally. It's easy to fall back on those generic phrases, but they kind of lack oomph.
Yeah, they don't really land the same way.
Right. Think about it. If someone just said to you, you're a good friend, it wouldn't have the same impact as if they said something like, I really appreciate how you always make me feel heard when I'm struggling.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. The specific detail makes a huge difference.
Exactly. It shows that you're not just throwing out compliments randomly. You're actually paying attention and noticing the things that make that person special.
So it's about being present, I guess, and really seeing the person you're complimenting.
Exactly. And that ties right into the sincerity piece. When you take the time to actually observe and reflect on what you genuinely appreciate about someone, your compliment just naturally becomes more sincere.
It's not just you're trying to say something nice because you feel obligated.
Right. It's about shifting your focus outward,
Yep.
recognizing the good in others, and then expressing that appreciation authentically.
Okay, and then the last piece is personalization, right?
Yep. Making sure the compliment feels tailored to the individual and highlights something unique about them.
No cookie-cutter compliments.
Nope. It's about acknowledging the individual's unique qualities and contributions. Telling your friend, your sense of humor always brightens my day. That's way more impactful than just saying, you're funny.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all these elements come together.
Yeah.
But can we dive into some real-world examples? How does this actually play out in different situations?
Yeah, let's get specific. The podcast actually had some pretty awesome examples that really show how to apply these principles in different situations. Okay, let's hear them.
All right, so first up, we're at work,
Right?
and you want to acknowledge a colleague. Maybe they gave an amazing presentation or something.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of just saying, great job, which, it's fine, but it's kind of basic,
Yeah, it doesn't really stand out.
you could say something like, I was really impressed by how you presented the data today. The way you made it, all that complex information so clear and engaging, it was brilliant.
Oh, yeah, that's way better.
Right.
It shows that you were actually paying attention and, you picked up on something specific that impressed you.
Totally. Okay, next scenario. You're hanging out with a friend, and you want to compliment their, I don't know, their awesome fashion sense.
Okay, yeah.
What would be a personalized compliment that goes beyond, I love your outfit?
How about your style is so uniquely you? I love how you always manage to put together like such bold and creative looks.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right.
It's like you're not just complimenting the clothes, you're complimenting their, like, personality and their creativity.
Exactly.
Okay, so now let's try, like, a potentially tricky one. Let's say you're trying to compliment your partner on their cooking skills,
Oh, yeah, this is a classic.
right? How do you avoid, like, the classic dinner was delicious trap?
Oh, I know. I know. So instead of just praising the outcome, right, try focusing on like the effort and the skill that went into it.
Okay, so less about the food itself, more about the process.
Exactly. You could see something like, I really appreciate all the effort you put into making this meal. The flavors are incredible, and it's clear you like really put a lot of thought into every detail.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
And it shows you're paying attention to.
Right.
Okay, now let's shift gears a bit. Imagine we're trying to compliment a stranger.
Ooh, okay. Yeah,
I
a
mean,
little different.
it can be kind of daunting, you know.
Yeah.
But the podcast had some really good tips for like navigating that.
Yeah, I remember they talked about focusing on something that the person has control over. So instead of, commenting on their appearance, you could compliment like their style or a personal item they're wearing.
Oh, like I love the energy of that necklace. It really adds a unique touch to your outfit.
Yes, exactly. Or like if they're reading a book that you love, you could say something like, I just finished that book and loved it. You have great taste in literature.
Oh, that's a great way to like start a conversation too.
Right. And it shows you're paying attention to details beyond like just superficial observations.
Exactly. And it avoids making anyone feel, uncomfortable, which is super important when you're interacting with someone you don't know.
For sure.
Okay, so the podcast also got into some of the like the science behind giving compliments, which I thought was super interesting.
Yeah, me too.
It turns out like it's not just about making other people feel good, it actually benefits the giver too.
Really?
Yeah. They were talking about all this research showing that giving compliments actually triggers the release of dopamine and oxytocin in our brains.
Dopamine. What?
Oxytocin,
Oh, wow. Okay.
which are like the same chemicals associated with happiness and bonding.
So it's like a natural mood booster.
Right. Basically, spreading kindness and appreciation makes us happier and more connected to other people.
Wow. I love that. It's like a win-win situation.
Total win-win. But it does raise an interesting question. Like,
Yeah.
if we get this, this personal benefit from giving compliments,
Yeah.
does that like make it less genuine?
Ooh, that's a good point. I never thought about it that way.
It's like, are we being kind just for the sake of being kind, or are we secretly doing for ourselves?
Right, right. I think it's probably more nuanced than that, though. Like, just because we get a boost from giving compliments, it doesn't diminish the positive impact it has on the other person.
I like that.
It's not a zero-sum game,
Right.
Both parties can benefit from the interaction.
I love that perspective.
What's really fascinating is that, like, this act of giving compliments can actually train our brains to become more attuned to the positive aspects of other people and, like, the world around us in general.
So instead of focusing on like what's wrong, we start noticing the good.
Exactly. And that's a pretty powerful shift in mindset, don't you think?
Absolutely. Speaking of noticing the good, the podcast also talked about how important it is to be mindful of cultural differences when it comes to compliments.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good point.
Because what might be considered like a sincere compliment in one culture
Yeah.
could be perceived as, awkward or even offensive in another.
Right, for sure. So it's all about, like, being aware of those nuances and respecting different cultural norms.
Totally. For example, they mentioned that in some Asian cultures, it's common to like downplay compliments
Mm-hmm.
as a sign of humility. Right.
Yeah.
So instead of, being like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, I'm so glad you liked it, a simple thank you would be more appropriate.
Yeah, much more in line with their cultural norms.
And even within the same culture, context matters a lot too. Like a compliment that's totally fine among close friends might not be appropriate in a professional setting.
Yeah, definitely.
Like complimenting a coworker's effort on a project is one thing, but commenting on their like appearance might cross a line.
Yeah, could definitely make things awkward.
It's about like reading the room and being sensitive to the situation.
Right, always using good judgment.
And I think like a good rule of thumb is to always err on the side of caution.
Yeah.
Like if you're ever unsure whether a compliment is appropriate or not, it's probably best to like hold back.
Yeah, better safe than sorry.
Exactly. That's like, treat others how you'd like to be treated. Respect and consideration should always be, like, at the forefront of our interactions.
Absolutely. So I guess as we wrap up our little deep dive here on the art of giving genuine compliments, maybe you should try to, sum up some key takeaways.
All right, so let's try to, like, distill all this down into some actionable steps our listeners can take. Like, how do we actually become better compliment givers?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is just to make it a conscious effort. you
Mm,
know,
okay.
the podcast actually suggested trying to make it like a daily habit.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, challenge yourself to give, one genuine compliment each day.
Like a compliment challenge.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be anything super elaborate, just focus on being present and noticing something you genuinely appreciate about someone and then just tell them.
So it's about, like, building that awareness muscle.
Yeah, totally. And as you practice, I think you'll find it becomes way easier to spot those genuine moments of appreciation.
And you might even start noticing things that you would have, like, overlooked before, right?
Exactly. Like you're training your brain to look for the good.
That makes sense.
Mm.
But, okay, what about the other side of the coin? Like, we've talked a lot about giving compliments, but what about receiving them? Any tips there?
Oh, that's a great point. It's definitely just as important.
I feel like I'm really bad at that, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, I always feel so awkward when someone gives me a compliment. I tend to, like, downplay it, or I get all flustered, and I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty common reaction.
Is it?
Yeah. But try to shift your mindset. See receiving compliments as an opportunity to acknowledge and appreciate the positive impact you have on other people.
Hmm. Okay, yeah. So instead of deflecting, I could just, like, thank you. That means a lot to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Simple and sincere. Just embrace the compliment and let it sink in.
Because I deserve it.
Yeah. You deserve to receive that appreciation.
I like that. It's like giving myself permission to, like, be acknowledged and celebrated, you know?
Totally. And who knows, maybe it'll even inspire you to give more genuine compliments in return.
It's a whole cycle of positivity.
Right. It's a beautiful cycle of appreciation and connection.
I love that. Well, this has been such an insightful deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much, and I'm actually really excited to start putting these tips into practice.
Awesome. I'm glad you got so much out of it.
I hope our listeners did too. You know, it's like we all have the power to make each other's days a little bit brighter, and it starts with just, like, being present, seeing the good, and sharing that appreciation.
Absolutely. It's such a simple thing, but it can really make a difference.
Well said.
Okay.
All right, everyone, thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive into the art of genuine compliments. We'll catch you next time.